and welcome to today's Monocled Gamer blog post on Batman Arkham City. Monday, I already wrote about a general review of the game. We talked about gameplay, we talked about the overall engine and how it looks and sounds, and we talked about the story and how satisfying the game is. And to sum up, Batman Arkham City rocks. It's a gorgeous game, it's a fun game, it's a satisfying game. The story is interesting, and if you know even a passing bit, have a passing interest in the villains and the general mythos of Batman, you're gonna enjoy it. And if you know a ton, you're gonna enjoy it more. There's so many little things in there for the hardcore comics geek, and while I am not that person, I used to be enough that I can tell it's all there. It's good. I like it. Anyway, so, since we talked about gameplay and the appearance of the game and the story, what is there left to talk about? Bam! Replayability. Fairly simply, after you beat the main story quest, what is there for you to do? And tying into that, we're going to talk about DLC a little bit too. So, you play through Batman Arkham City. You do all the side quests, which there are 15-ish. All of which are interesting, but 15-ish. And that's counting the Riddler ones. The trophies, just like in Arkham Asylum, there are Riddler trophies all over, and that ties into a greater Riddler side quest, which is particularly interesting as well, but takes forever. I mean, you have to find them all and answer all those riddles. Anyway. So, what do? You've defeated, I'm not going to reveal anything, you've defeated the villains. Now what? Well, just like in Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City makes use of a challenge mode. Basically, it's Riddler's challenges. The basic challenge sets you in an arena of a sort. It's a locale taken from the game itself and puts you up against 4 rounds of enemies that increase in number and difficulty. Basic rounds will start with, 4 or 5 just completely bare bones guys. Nothing special about them. Round 2, you'll be up to maybe 8 or 9, and one of them might have a riot shield, or a pipe, or a bat. Round 3, they might start getting knives. Round 4, there might be guys in armor, and, it gets more and more complicated after that. In the more hardcore rounds, you start with people who are in armor and have riot shields, and you upgrade to people with guns, stun prods, just even mini-bosses can show up in these rounds. And so that's the basic combat. For people who love to be Batman and beat people up, it's perfect. You get all of the stuff you unlock in the gameplay, the story mode, is unlocked simultaneously in challenge mode. You can use those same moves, with the exception of the combos. Combo system works a little bit differently. But all of the gadgets are there, and I love it. I'm a huge fan of the gadget integration into combat, and so doing these challenge modes with Batman is just so much fun. Part of this, as well, is that there are challenge modes in which you, instead of just fighting people, you're put into a room and it says, take out everyone as quickly as possible. And then you're given three goals, essentially. And those goals are specific ways to take people out, or specific ways to distract them, that kind of thing. And if you fulfill those things, you get that medal, so to speak. And getting those can also be particularly challenging. Something that is new to Batman Arkham City is the campaign system, which takes the challenge mode, combat challenge mode, and the Predator challenge mode, the clear the room challenge modes, and basically randomly chooses 3 of them, and then chooses 3 modifiers. And you have to go back to back to back through those 3 challenges, and over the course of those three challenges, you have to use all 3 modifiers. Now, these modifiers can be things like you start with less health, or you don't see counter symbols above enemies' heads, and other negatives, but they're also positives, like your primary projectile weapon is an instant knockout. That's awesome. Throwing taser batarangs is super fun, and it's something that doesn't exist in the story mode, so it's just really fun when it comes up. And each campaign works differently with different modifiers, and so that's also really fun. It should be said there is no real story to these. It's basically just testing your own skills. I believe you can post scores to a leaderboard, but there's no real interaction with that. You cannot summon another player to play as, say, the downloadable Catwoman or Robin or now Nightwing and fight with you 2 against the group. Nothing like that at this point, though that would be amazing. So, kind of a bummer on that, but the modes are overall fun, and they are diverting. I personally feel that the real replayability in this game, the thing that makes it really worth getting into, is New Game Plus. As it would sound, New Game Plus, you start a new game. However, you get to keep all of the gadgets you had before and all of the unlocks you've gotten. You know, all the special combos, all of the armor upgrades, all of that you already have. However, to balance the game out, countersigns, the little lightning bolts that tell you when to counter, no longer appear above enemies' heads. All enemies experience basically an AI upgrade as well as a damage upgrade, but more than that, new enemy configurations pop up. Enemies will start finding weapons more often, better weapons more often, brand new types of enemies will pop out and attack you, and it's really very challenging. I mean, I recently just started New Game Plus, and I was really having to work through a crowd. Even with all my gadgets, it was pretty challenging. I went down once, and this is in like the first half hour when the horde of enemies you fight shouldn't really be that difficult. No, I went down. I was really surprised. But at the same time, that's the fun of it, you know? It's testing your skills as the bat. How much better does it get? So that, I think, is the real replayability of the game. To be honest, if you're picking up this game, you shouldn't be picking it up for multiplayer. It doesn't have any, and you shouldn't really be picking it up for post-main game content. You should be picking it up for the game, for the story itself, for playing through Arkham City. That is worthwhile. That is worth minimum a rental. I bought it, and I'm really happy I did. So there's that. Last little thing to talk about, DLC for the game. Those who bought the game new get Catwoman, who is, she actually has story missions. They're integrated into the main story. They're fairly sparse. There's not a ton there, but it's amusing. She, compared to Batman's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 or 10 gadgets, she has 3. However, they all function fairly well. She feels differently, she plays differently, and she travels around Arkham City differently than Batman, which takes getting used to and is also a fun diversion if somehow you ever get sick of being Batman. For those who pre-ordered with Best Buy, there was the Robin DLC, which is also going to be purchasable at a later date. Robin is only for challenge modes, only for campaigns, and then the combat and predator modes. And he has all of his own gadgets. I think he has 6. And he plays very differently as well. He uses a staff. And it's particularly interesting, the way he fights and plays. And I honestly like playing as Robin. It's really entertaining. And they just recently released, exactly 2 weeks after the release of the game, actually, Nightwing DLC, which is just like Robin. He has his own gadgets, he has his own fighting style, but he's only for challenge maps and campaigns. So, kind of a bummer on that one. It'd be way more fun to go around Arkham City as Robin or Nightwing. But, take what you can get, I guess. I will say this, I'm disappointed in the fact that Rocksteady has released content for Batman Arkham City 2 weeks to the day after the game came out. That's way too soon for it to be like, oh hey, we just thought of this and we threw it together. That's planned. That's planned before release. And I don't know, it just feels a little tacky. It feels a little bit like they're going for money, especially since the Nightwing DLC is $7, I believe, for 2 maps and him. And he's cool, don't get me wrong, but you can't even use him in the main story. Not even that he'd have his own story, just can't even use him there. So bummer on that. I'm hoping it all comes down eventually in price, because I like Nightwing. It would be fun, but it's not worth it right now. It's really not. So, a little disappointing there. Overall, Batman Arkham City is a game worth playing. It is a game, in my opinion, worth buying. It is satisfying, story-wise. It does give you closure. In fact, it has one of the coolest end cutscenes I've played for a while. It's really just awesomely satisfying and fun. So, go check it out if you get the chance, and if you want to hear more about the game